In some ways I think it's very positive, and in some ways I think it's very negative. And I think that that entirely depends on how Agile is implemented.
You know, Agile seems to be the topic of the day, or we kind of refer to it sometimes as fragile, because a lot of organizations are trying to figure out what their definition of Agile actually is.
Because there's really two Agiles. There's small a Agile, which is the dictionary definition of the word Agile, meaning ability to react to change, the ability to change quickly. And then there's big A Agile with the TM after it, and those are the community, it's the people who say, in order to be Agile, you must do TDD. In order to do Agile, you must do stand-up meetings. In order to be Agile, you must do what this priest has written in his book. And what that does is that actually is the opposite of the original spirit of Agile.
Agile itself, you know, when you look back at the manifesto, is really the way that I've seen a lot of great companies develop software for a very long time, before the word got popular. There are pockets of Agile which seem to say that the traditional tester doesn't so much fit in the process. Well, the truth is that somewhere along the way, we need folks checking, you know, looking for problems, looking for bugs at a code level, at an integration level, at a system level, and then again at the user level. So the name of the person who checks these things, or where they come from the organization, to me is less important. What matters to me is that these things are being checked in a way that makes sense for the organization.
There are some teams that are very rigid in how they implement Agile, and they see it's very programmer-centric in some implementations, and they don't see the value of other skill sets and other mindsets. I think testers have a very important part to play in Agile. People need to be open to that.
I think it's very important to incorporate the traditional way of testing, maybe the more according to a process, with the agile thoughts. So I think the answer is somewhere in the middle, where we pick out from both worlds.
With the development, or with the institution of Agile, it's become very unique, right? Because QA doesn't quite know how to react these days because they see Agile. Agile scares the heck out of a lot of these organizations. Making sure that, you know, it's almost like a waterfall approach, but you've condensed it, and understanding that the principles and practices still apply that they did to waterfall as they do now in Agile, which is understanding that QA and development can be in parallel from, in a given sprint, have that understanding of the requirements-driven testing, requirements-driven development in conjunction with that. The adoption can be understood and absorbed in a good fashion.
The thing that Agile does is it brings the development and testing organization together, and it's crucial that we work in partnerships.
Agile is about bringing development teams closer together. So we actually do see that the Agile tester is going to have to be potentially a little more technical than they were in the past. Or they have tools that help them to work very, very closely with the development teams.
I think it's going to be using simple applications where the tester can actually do his job, but the actual role of the tester is going to be testing the product and not worrying about things such as writing down bugs, writing down the steps of the bugs, writing down manual tests. There's going to be simple tools that are going to make that for him. The tester himself, he's going to be testing.
We're little A Agile. We haven't drank the whole bottle of Kool-Aid yet, but we're trying to. It's a team, and it's again building the right kind of team to do the job and trust each other.
Seems like 2008 is the year that kind of a lot of people came to the realization that waterfall techniques for building software incrementally, where you went from kind of requirements into development into testing, but that's pretty much an easy way of killing your developers, of killing your testers. It's just too hard in an Ajax environment or in an SOA environment to use waterfall. Agile, on the other hand, says, hey, let's test first. Let's build the interfaces to what we're going to write as an application. And that's great. It also, Agile brings like pair development and a bunch of other methodology for developing. Well, what I'm seeing is that testing can move up into the Agile technique as well, because when you're building new services or new applications, with some of the new frameworks that are out there, there's no reason why you can't build a test at the same time you're building the application. That's even beyond what Agile itself originally said. Agile wanted you to do test first. Well, what I say is build and test at the same time using Agile techniques.
In the old days under the waterfall model, you basically had a semi-stable application before you really got heavy into your, at least into your integration and acceptance testing. With Agile development, that's moved much further forward in the cycle, and quite frankly, there tends to not be a lot of the resources and materials that might have been available before. So it seems to be a much more dynamic environment, a much more real-time environment, a little less structured, puts a lot more pressure, I think, on the QA folks.
So for a lot of folks who grew up in a non-Agile environment as testers, this is a scary proposition because now they've got to have more understanding across the entire life cycle, right? They need a deeper knowledge of systems sometimes, users sometimes. But at the end of the day, as long as testers can contribute to the team, right, and don't act like a union, right? And we pitch in and we help out, we use your skills, I think there's a natural fit.
It's not like two islands anymore that don't really like to talk to each other. It's one unit, and they, continuous testing and early in the life cycle. And so, yeah, Agile is the way to go.
I really do see Agile growing. Once people really define what it is they want to do with Agile, we'll see a hell of a lot more of it in the future.